Innovative, revolutionary, stellar development, purest universal knowledge. In a transformative, futuristic design. The Universal Body Enhancement Spaceship Unit. The very first new evolutionary spaceship technology has been rolled out for mass production. Our Universal Body Enhancement Spaceship Unit is constructed from high-quality materials carefully selected by our team of experts. Embedding the essence of the new GANS plasma science and technology, it uses collective plasma field technology for changing and enhancing the environment of the body of the man. This new plasma enhancement changes the environment of the body to allow it to return to its natural, balanced, energetic condition, as in the womb of the mother, allowing every cell in the body of the man to find its natural, original field strength balance. The shape and field distribution in this new space plasma technology replicates the inner structure of the universe and replicates the balance fields from which the man was created at the point of inception in the womb of the mother, not only receiving balance in the physical, but also in the emotional sense too. For the first time in the history of man, a system has been developed and delivered which not only enhances the physical body of the man, but also enhances the emotional part of the user of the system, hence reducing and eliminating many problems that could not be solved in the world of science, to bring the body of the man into near perfection, as at the time of birth. This new spaceship technology can be within the reach of every man today and can be ordered by medical practitioners, sports specialists and healthcare centres. The Universal Enhancement Spaceship Unit, the future you have been waiting for, is here. The journey from space to spaceship technology has started. Every order is subject to a contractual agreement and might require additional accessories priced separately for applications according to each case. You can order or contact us at office@at.kfm.global for additional information.
Welcome everyone to the 313th Knowledge Seekers Workshop for Thursday, January 30th, 2020. This is a broadcast of the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute, part of the Education Department and Public Teachings in English. My name is Rick Crammond. I'm one of the hosts today, along with Flint Mulhausen, and we are welcoming once again Mr. Mayran Keshe of the Keshe Foundation, who is ready to go to deliver once again another Knowledge Seekers Workshop. Hello, Mr. Keshe, are you there?
Yes, good morning, good day to you, as usual, wherever and whenever you listen to these series of Knowledge Seekers. It is nice to be back, and it is nice to share more knowledge. Try to, as last time I explained the difference between different kind of gravity magnetic fields, which creates different condition of life and space and motion and matter. We try to go into more depth later on. There are a number of things, important announcements to be made. If you remember as knowledge seekers, in 2010, on my trip to Mexico, I was captured by the Canadians, literally took hostage, terrorized terrorists activities of Canadian government. I was captured on transit going from one plane to another, and I was put a gun to head a few times, and I was told to my sister on the other side of the glass that I'll be killed if anybody publicly known that the Canadian have got hold of me. And after 11 days of torture, what we call interrogation, from 9 o'clock in the morning till 1 o'clock in the morning, they decided that I can go back to Belgium. And if I would have said this has happened to me, many of you said it was just a dream. But typical, stupid, or maybe a friend of the Keshe Foundation in the Canadian Security Services decided to leave a pile of documents with the names and everything which they copied and the official papers of the Canadian government in my suitcase. That when we arrived back in Belgium, it was very funny. As I came off the plane, I was handed over by the Belgian police, taken to the basement, and I was told, "You're free, you can go." And it was shocking to us at that time. 11 days of being told you're going to be executed, one, you're going to be put in prisons, which never wondering if they decide that way. It's not an easy emotion to go through. I think Hitler was the last one who did this, or Saddam Hussein. Canadians are not short, and the masters American are not short of that either. Because in many interviews, I was told Hillary Clinton decides my fate. And I think I decided her fate with her mental disease. By the wish of the soul, she received what she deserved. For many people, she served that way. To this effect, we went through and understood the position. And the Mexican conference was to be gone that way, that we'll attend the conference next week. We submitted the application to the Mexican embassy this week, and our securities watched the process. And we were informed this morning, my travel to Mexico is absolutely forbidden, according to the Keshe Foundation International Securities. The reason is the same thing has been planned. And my life and Rubin's and Karen life is not at disposal of some incompetent, impotent people in these offices. Mexicans, security informed Americans, and the plan is if there will be a capture in Mexico or landing a plane somewhere in America, the president will issue an executive order to arrest. For this reason, I will not be attending the conference. My life is not worth much, but is not worth for the Americans to play with. We've seen they've done exactly the same thing to Harvey's daughter. We've seen that what happened in Iraq 2 weeks ago. For this reason, Keshe family will not be physically present in the Mexican conference, as we have unfolded another terrorist activities inside the government officials. In so many ways, repeating what was done 8-9 years ago. For this reason, the Keshe Foundation conference will go ahead, as I'm a figurehead, but the real head of the Keshe Foundation is Ella. She will be there. The other members of the Keshe Foundation team will be there. And I'll be present in Zoom conference. Nothing changes except that we value our lives more than some idiots sitting in an Oval Office deciding on some people's Oval's life, which worth nothing to them. We are very straightforward in this matter, and our securities have never been wrong. I had a warning last time, do not go to Mexico. You have to understand the last trip which was captured or terrorized was to Mexico City during the oil disaster, BP in Gulf of Mexico. For this reason, I do apologize from the Keshe Foundation knowledge seekers. Nothing changes. The conference is set and we'll go through as it is. Presentation will be the same as I was there, but on the screen. And our webmasters and the head of Keshe Foundation and other members of the Keshe Foundation will be there as would have been in Austria or in Brazil. We have to understand not much has changed in the world of the wild animals of this planet. And when my securities, it's the first time ever advised me forbidden to travel. Forbidden means is 100%, not even 99%. Advice, we listen. Forbidden, we take note of. We act upon. For this reason, I do apologize for those of you who were hoping that we meet. I'm sure we can meet in other places in this around this planet. And as we have had the taste of the animals of the United States and Canadian government for 11 days, I don't think I would like to go through the same torture, keeping you 24 hours a day awake, marching up and down your room, making sure you get no rest, disorientation, and the rest you don't want to know. Kangaroo court, exactly what happened to Howie. I've been through all that in the Canadian, what do you call the structure. I never asked for asylum. They put me in the court, kangaroo court. I was told if I say anything in the court, there's one bullet waiting for me behind the door. That's what I can say. American and Canadian justice. For this reason, I prefer to keep a bullet in a gun than in my head by the American administration. We wish you a fantastic conference. We'll be there. I'll be there on Zoom. And in so many ways, this situation has risen and it brings a new dimension to the work of the Keshe Foundation. As we have seen, the most powerful nation on this planet claiming to be, we surrendered to what we call the most powerful knowledge. Bullets and guns and missiles and everything else against plasma technology show it has no match. And we've seen the delivery of this technology done by the forces known as SEPA. For those of you who do not understand the Iranian culture, you have to understand what SEPA means. SEPA means army. And the SEPA has been part of the Iranian cultures for over 3,000 years. We have what is known as SEPA Javidan. These were set to protect the life of the nation and the king during the Dariush and Kurosh time. This SEPA was established by the Shah of Iran the last time. And in that process, the name was changed to SEPA Javidan, which meant there were 2,500 soldiers defending the nation with their life, faithful only to the king and to the nation and nothing else. They are separate from the army. In the Iranian Revolution, we saw the Javidan, which means putting their beautiful life online for the nation, was changed to the word SEPA, which means the guardians of the nation. That's the true meaning of it. It means people who protect the life of every citizen of the nation. It means dedication to humanity and peace. It means those who prefer their life worth not much when it comes to the national peace and security. With what we've seen in the past few days and what we've seen in the past few weeks, as part of we structured the Universal Council and the Earth Council, we established one SEPA, what we call the Universal SEPA. Means a military force which keeps peace on the banner of the Keshe Foundation. No nation, no borders, looking after the territory in a way for any needs that it might be. The establishment of Universal SEPA, one nation army, which means they are there to protect every citizen of this nation. What I foresee with the setting up of this force, which Keshe Foundation will support fully and will make of it, will be different than blueberries of the United Nations when they sold everyone to any price, as we saw in Africa. Dutch soldiers walking away because the pay was too good and allowed many to be executed and slaughtered. The new SEPA will be made of every man of the nations on this planet, and their responsibilities to humanity and not to a government or a nation or a district. They'll be a permanent force, and they'll be used in many, many other positions and needs. The establishment of one SEPA as part of one nation, one planet, one race, it gives us security during the transition from the animal behavior of the man in the past to the new standards and the livings which man will start. We need this, that we do not have what we've seen in the past through blueberries, incompetence, and in so many ways working on line of the political need, not national, which is one nation need. One of the first jobs of this group would be to make sure no arms crosses no borders from then on, which means no ship, no plane, no man with arms will cross any present borders of the nations. And in that way, we don't need to create sanctions. We create conditions that the boats will sink, the planes will land in nowhere, and those who go in these directions will never be able to deliver anything. In so many ways, enforcement of peace through blockage of armed deals, those who claim arms to be the protector of the peace will come to an end. The protector of the peace has to be no arm, not sell as much arms to create peace. The false fallacy which has been built up by the American government to sell arms. The new universal SEPA will have one thing: to make life pleasurable for every man on this planet. Making sure that no harm comes to man, does not matter where you are, here or beyond. And at the same time, is the responsibility of new SEPA to protect the life of Universal Council and the Earth Council. We have not changed. We have created a protection for those who need to be protected in the time of transition till full transition is shaped. We come to one of the most important things which has happened in the past few weeks and has touched many of our knowledge seekers. The situation in China with the virus has taken heavy toll, and we hear numbers are increasing. Keshe Foundation last week called upon all the Keshe Foundation knowledge seekers of China to be gathered, that we could share a new knowledge. And in that process, a new structure, simple structure that every man in China, and consequently, and from it, every man on this planet has to be protected. The last man is standing by themselves. We released a new video made up very rapidly, just to be for the Chinese to understand the message that they can protect themselves. The message was simple: one cup, one life. Takes a man a few minutes to make it, to save his life and his family and his loved ones, and then his neighbors. This video has been spread across China and around the world. It is simple. It is very direct. Some of you might have seen it. And as we are told, has been downloaded and watched by over 300 million in the past few days. Numbers increasing on a daily basis. Share it with the others and understand what it means. This material will protect you from any virus from now on. Anytime you hear a virus has hit or is about to come, even a flu, you have to understand the combination you make and you're protected. I developed this technology for deep space, as the space is the point of the virus, as you hear in the tape. I will ask our team to play it. If you have seen it, bear with us. And if you haven't seen it, share it across the world. It has saved, and it will save many lives. And then we go back to it and we discuss more. Would you like to play?
Good morning, good afternoon to you, whenever and
Need a
wherever
higher
you
voice.
listen to this recording. My name is Keshe, the head of Keshe Foundation, and as a Iranian nuclear physicist, we have developed technologies for space which can be applied and has been applied in China in past few years to see how we can improve the life of people in China, be it in the agriculture, be it for health, be it for production of material. In the past 2 years, when I stayed in China, we tried to show that this new technology can help with viruses. As you know, the African pig swan flu has killed many, many pigs. In the trial, which we were asked to participate in, where 829 pigs were affected by the virus, tested and confirmed. When we entered the process to help, after 2 weeks, we saved 725 pigs carrying the virus. This is one of the most difficult viruses to handle. At the same time, we have participated in agricultural growth in Inner Mongolia and northern part of China, and we have increased the harvest drastically. We have now factories in China, and in that process, we are trying to change and help the Chinese nation and technology and the industry and farming. Today is the Chinese New Year, and we know that a new problem has started for China. The new flu has already claimed many lives, and we know the flu is a virus. Up to today, in the world of science, there has never been a solution for viruses because we never understood what the virus is. Now, with the new technology, we understand what the virus is. And as the new technology depends on plasma technology, we can reduce the effect of the virus energy. What virus does that we understand now is an energy pack which itself attaches to a cell, and it takes the energy from the cell and in that case creates death of the cell and the death of the animal or a human being. With this new technology, what we do, we bring the plasma, which is more or less in this shape you see at the bottom of the cup, near to the cell. And then the virus gives its energy to this material and lets the cell go. And then we see eradication of it. We developed this technology because we are a space program. And in a space, we don't have microbes and bacteria. We have viruses, energy packs, which attach ourselves to themselves. And then it creates a huge problem. And it can cause a lot of death in space. So we had to develop a technology for viruses. And now, in this time, when China is in trouble with this new virus where humans and many have died, we introduced this not only to help you, but to help the nation, and in a way to change the course. What I'm going to show you is going to cost you 1 RMB to save your life. We call this the cup of life. 1 cup, 1 life. You can make it at home. Drink only the water, the clear water. Never drink the material. Wash your face with it, wear the mask with it, and then you will see, even if you have a fever, the fever comes down, and then you see the other effects. Then, if we can eradicate all the problem, at least the doctors can help you with the rest of it. This water has been certified, just passed the test that is not poisoning, and is already used in a hospital in Guangzhou for another application by a pharmaceutical company. Belongs to the Keshe Foundation. This is a new space technology. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you how to make one cup, one life. It's very simple. Look around your house. See what materials you have in the house. Something you don't need anymore. Take the wire, cut the wire off, and take the middle wires out. Usually you have 3 wires in China. Take these out, and then strip the plastic and cut it to about 30 centimeters. You can cut as many as these you like. What you do, you take the copper, take a pencil, and just simply twist. Twist the copper around the pen. That you get a spine. Very simple. Now you have a very small piece. You can make as many of these and put them together or connect them together. This is the first part. The second part of this is you take another one of these wires and you twist it very tight, very, very tight. And then this is the trick of the game. This is where you become more advanced than the scientists in Beijing universities and most of the universities around the world. We call it the nanotechnology. I'll show you how to make a very fast nanomaterial. This is a key to your life. This is what saves lives. This is what changes life. In the house, you usually have the Chinese pans. You create fire to cook. Here, I have a torch. The system, very simple. I need this. What I do, I reduce it. We need a high temperature. The copper has to go red. If it doesn't go red, it doesn't work. You put the copper on the fire and you wait for it to go red. As it goes red, you start moving. You start moving very, very slowly till you see it going red. And then you start moving. You see it? If you look, the copper stays continuously red. And then you carry on. Very, very slowly. Very, very slow. You keep the copper in a red color. It has to stay red. And then, you see it? You come all the way, very slowly. Very, very slow. You come to the end of it. Some of the wire might bend, it doesn't matter. But you go to the end. Make sure everything has to be black. You can't have any metal. Just watch. You see it? It goes red. The other part is a little bit left. You go red. Let it cool for a few seconds. And then, when it cools down, you do exactly as what you did before. You take it, still hot, and what you do, you place it back again, the same as on the pen, and you twist it around the pen. You'll find out you find some pieces already opened up. It doesn't matter. This is good. And then you follow it till it's totally finished. And then you push it back and bring all the wires together that they stick. There is nothing staying out. Now you have another spin. Look. Okay. Now you have one which is natural, one which is nano-coated. This is the edge of technology. Now you need something else. In all the homes we find batteries. The batteries which they carry zinc or zinc material. If it's a metal one, is no good. You can put a magnet on it and it sticks. You need a piece of zinc. or you can find a piece of zinc from the roof or from anywhere if you cannot find a battery, but it's usually in the batteries. You get it and you just fold it. Now what we do, we get a cup. That's what we call it, one cup, one life. You hang this one on one side. You hang the other one on the other side. And then I recommend you to get a hard piece of wire and turn it to this shape and hold it, put it on the top. Now you have made yourself a very simple system. You need to hang this on the middle. There we are. When you hang it like this, now you place it in the middle. As simple as that. Now we move to the final stage. As you know, we need to connect the three pieces together. You need to connect the plate to itself. This is from your battery, or you have it a zinc from somewhere. Then you connect the middle part again on the leg, very simply, to another piece. Then what you need to do, just make sure it's tight, very tight. And then you place it back in the cup. Then the third wire. What you do with the third wire is very simple. You connect it again to the bottom, to the end of this wire. Then just twist it that it stays tight, bring it back and hang it inside. Very simple. Now you have, I show you, 3 wires and 3 pieces. What you need to do is very simple. You can do one thing. You can, to speed up, to make the material very fast, take an old battery, very old battery, not much power in it, and connect the 2 outside together and get a tape, a simple tape, and connect this to the top of the battery. That's all you need to do. Just make sure you have the tape and you have this, and you connect it directly to the top. Make sure it's tight. You get another piece of tape and you connect the bottom to the center. Of the battery. So now we have a system. You have the 2 wires. You have to make sure none of these touches. But this process, a cup of life of man, 1 cup, 1 life, needs water. This water, you take a tap water and you add salt to it, cooking salt. You add about 15% for 1 liter, 150 gram is good. And you stir it till it's fully done. Then, now you start saving your life. Just fill it up. You don't need to do anything else. Just fill it up to the top. leave it. You'll start seeing bubbles. Make sure everything is inside. And if you look, already bubbles start coming up. What are you going to get? A water like this. You see whitish greenish material goes to the bottom and you get a very clear water. You never drink or touch the green part. You just let everything to settle. When it's clean and clear, you drink about 100 ml, 200 milliliter of it. And then you wash your face and you wash your hands with it. And then most of you at the moment, through the fear of what is going to happen, you are wearing these masks which you put in front of your face, or a tea towel, or any towel, or a piece of cloth. You wet it with the same water and you hold it and you put it in front of your mouth. You breathe as much as possible every day. You just wear the mask. And then you have to make sure that when you make the fresh water will be salty. Try to wash the salt off. You wash it, you let it settle, you put more water in it, you let it settle, and in that process, you go as much as you like. When you empty it, when you took this material out of the bottom, you can put more salt water and keep it going. It keeps on producing. You can give another cup to another friend. You can save another life to your neighbors and keep on producing and teach them what to do. And then what you do, you keep on filling it up. You drink from it, you let it settle. You keep on drinking, washing your cloth, washing your nose, washing your face, your head, and keeping the mask continuously wet in front of your mouth. So what you can do on the other hand is, as you're walking around the town, just carry it, put the water in a spray and just spray it on the cloth on your mask. That's all it does. You see anybody says, I have a temperature, give it to them. That's all it does. It saves a life with just one spray. This is a space technology. It looks very simple because we made it simple. You got to understand, this technology is very advanced on the other hand, where very soon you will see these machines where we'll do the same in more effective way, made in China, will be exported around the world. I brought this technology, one cup, one life, because every life has to be respected. And I love to be part of the Chinese community to see that the new year becomes a pleasurable year. This is my gift, the gift from Keshe Foundation to the Chinese nation. Use it, understand what you're doing, and give a cup to the man. Teach the man how to make it. Once you learn this one, if another 5 years, another 10 years, there is another virus, that's all you need to do. Just make a very simple system. One cup, one life, less than 1 RMB. It's worth testing. And then teach it freely. We have opened a website that in this program you see it at the bottom. You have a problem, get in touch with Keshe Plasma China at 163.com. You can be helped there. And then we can teach you how to do it and teach the others. It doesn't take long. If you leave it for about half a day or so, you will start seeing the material appears. And that's all you need to do. Thank you very much. A Happy New Year. I hope you enjoyed the gift of life, which I've given you as one cup, one life. Thank you.
Thank you very much. As I always say, is the last man standing. And hopefully we are not the last man standing for China and the last man standing for humanity from this disaster, which is not Chinese anymore. If, according to the statistics and what is coming out and the research done, this virus takes hold, estimated loss of life is 60 million plus. Not in China, United States, South America, across Asia, and every corner of this planet. The problem with it is us as men, we travel. We love to travel. We love to go to new places. And this time, we're going to new places during the Chinese New Year. We have brought a gift to the rest of the humanity. It's got to be understood that this will not be the first and the last time. But in opening the universal community to man, man will continuously bring these kind of viruses into the atmosphere of the man, into the life of the man, be it on this planet or beyond. Therefore, we can see how and why we needed to show this for the first time. And then in the back of this, a new technology will be delivered to the Chinese government in coming days that will support Chinese nation in a very effective way. But then we learn this is a pre-run to what mankind will have in the space. As I said, by 2021, we open the space. And with this technology and this virus, we are getting the first lessons, the first taste of massive virus transfer to the human body. And in that process, how we can handle it. My advice to Chinese government is very simple. Do not panic. We always see these things. Till we find out the virus is there, we always will have fatalities or some other effects we see. Keshe Foundation stands solid on behind of the Chinese nation and the Chinese government. We respect the wishes of His Excellency President Xi, and Keshe Foundation China is at disposal of the Chinese nation. Many Chinese knowledge seekers are now in different places making these, sharing knowledge, and the process has already started. We know of 5 cases, or possible 5 cases, which have used the gas even with the temperature, and the temperature has disappeared and faded and reduced. We know this technology works and is upon the Chinese government at this moment, and in the next few weeks upon the American government and the rest. You got to understand something very, very important to all of you who live outside China. Chinese government has a central control on movement and everything else, and they will contain this. They had a pre-run some years ago. They have blocked cities, they have blocked what we call the sections which are much higher rate of infection, and they will contain it. Takes them another few weeks, they will contain it. The death toll might reach a peak and then will stop because person-to-person transmission is not there. But in the United States, you're free, and very soon will take a cross, and your government cannot confine you the same as Europe. This is the biggest problem. The main damage will come outside China than inside China. China's damage limitation will be controlled by the central government. You got to understand, one of the main things is, as I explained in another teaching, we were expecting this virus. This virus is closely in energy connected to African pig flow on the energy structure. And it combines with the second of the first strand. And with that, makes death guaranteed. What has happened and why we see such a rapid structured development is we can connect this virus to the African pig flu. As I said in the teaching, from plasmatic point of view, not biological, what we see is what has happened, and it's a deliberate accident, not accidentally accident, is that the pig flu was delivered into China as part of the double combined virus. And now the second has been released. That's why it's taken hold so rapidly, and it will go very rapid. What has happened with the pigs infected, opening and finding their way into the market, people has consumed them. They already carry the first strand of the two strands common denominator. And with this, we see the second strand completed. This is a designer virus. This is an introduced virus deliberately. And in so many ways, last year, I warned the Chinese authorities of this. I always said, even to Wang Lin, I'm waiting to see where is the second one. This is like a composite glue. One on their own has not much effect, but when you mix the two, it's deadly. What will be interesting to see if, as we expect, this virus will not take shape as such, but will attach itself to others in Western Europe and America and the other part of the world. But in China, primarily links itself to Chinese, what we call the African pig flu. It is sad to see some people chose this path to create mayhem. Everything was timed and controlled to be the maximum damage during the Chinese New Year. It wasn't accidental. I was fully expecting this, and my expectation was, as I said, it's going to hit China New Year, and hit China New Year. This is what and why I announced the establishment of Universal SEPA. These criminals who bring these things have to be brought into justice in a way they deserve. In a way, the only way they deserve is to be given the same virus to them and their loved ones. That's all. If they can stand it, they have worked it out themselves. If they have been so much involved in making, controlling, and whatever else, that's a decision of themselves. This has to stop. These kind of atrocities has to stop. The biggest problem will come for nations like United States. Keshe Foundation will support humanity, but Keshe Foundation cannot be there to watch abuse of humanity. I have given full support to the Chinese administration. If called upon to travel to China to do and take part in controlling it, it will be done without hesitation. At the same time, Keshe Foundation team in China has been put, they're producing as much as they can, what we know we need to do. And in the next few days, we hope we receive a positive call by the Chinese administration, calling the Keshe Foundation into support. If we get this call, I'll call upon all the Keshe Foundation worldwide to transfer as much as material into the Chinese territory that we can support with new technology. Then we take shape in how we support other nations. You got to understand, 3 doctors died last week in China, helping others. 2 were in touch, they went there to help the first victims. The 3rd sat in the same room and just had a drink talking to them. If you have found one person in the United States and flew from China, 200 passengers, American immigration going through all the officers, and those 200 now traveling in 200 different directions across this nation. The third doctor. Situation is worse than can be imagined, and it needs to be looked at. The job of knowledge seekers, as you are, is prepare yourself already at your homes. Does not matter which part of the world you live. We never know if our next door neighbor was a passenger on the second flight from Los Angeles to Seattle. And then another 200 passengers on the same plane. 12 days incubation, 24 days strength to second incubation. In so many ways, it's your responsibility, now that you know, to prepare everything for yourself, your family, and for your nation. This flu will take hold, and this flu will take hold drastically. We see pictures which are coming out of China, which is horrendous. We see pictures which is not seen so much outside China, but maybe you have to see it to understand what is faced with, what is there, and how things are happening. One of the most important things for you as what I call European and American is very simple. Try to understand this process will be extremely dangerous for all of you. What I'm going to show you, it's very simple. Chinese can do things which our governments cannot do. Chinese government has a central control that our governments don't have. We are in a worse state than Chinese government can secure their citizens. This is part of what you have to understand. We are dealing with a lot of disasters which we have no control over. And I would like to share some of the things we get, and there are many in the background we see. I shared a couple of videos with you, a couple of pictures last week. I share with you how you, as what I call European citizens, American citizens, don't have a nation, a leadership which cares for its people, and in so many ways, a government structure that can protect its people. We don't have this. In China they have, and they will control it. And European, American, and the rest of the world will envy the control which is set and is done for and by the Chinese government for the people. This is what we see in the, what I call, in the Chinese community. These are pictures sent by knowledge seekers, and I will share with you on the Zoom. I send them to Rick, to be able to share. There are videos I cannot send through. This cannot happen in the West. People in the West don't have these kind of freedoms. But in China, this power of the government allows security for the nation. And this we don't have in the West. They can isolate. Rick is on your picture file. If you can share it with us, please. You see, they can isolate cities and they can isolate communities and people respect it. Unfortunately, in America, there are too many guns and no one will respect. And we see this to spread into the United States and other part of the world. And if this happens, there is no such control. The good thing with this structure is when it's contained like this, when we go in as Keshe Foundation, we can suddenly in one go clean up the whole city. We can bring within weeks control back, where in the rest of the world we don't have such a facility. Rick, have you received the pictures? This is China under control. You show me Americans will stand out. There's another picture. This is the eventuality of locking down cities, and this is now happening in China. As knowledge seekers, you have to be able to be ready. It doesn't matter it comes or doesn't come. And at the same time, teach as many. The link to the Keshe Foundation YouTube is there. It's translated to many other countries and cities. You have to understand, if 6 has found in Brazil, 6 came in 6 different planes. Just give it time. The woman carer who washes the dishes coming off the plane or empties the bin of the plane is in the same danger as the guy who sat in the plane. And this is the reality. Now you understand why people in China are much better off than people outside China. That's why we made one cup, one life. But try to make as much as you can, as many as you can, in case it goes out of control. Because we don't know who was on which flight. This is part of the work, and we'll face many crises like this when our travels up to space come back. If you look at the Universal Enhancement Unit, this is where we travel back into and travel to from. More or less a quarantine unit. If you could have a picture of the Universal Enhancement Unit, you'll see it. It is made to contain life and energy and balance the forces according to the environment you're landing. When we go into space, it's not that we become again man of the earth and become selfish as me and I. We have to understand when we enter a new community and life in the space, what energy we carry is not a virus to them. Man's respect for life has no limitation to Earth, but limitation to universe. And then you understand why we took and we take such action. You need to understand going through the transition in the enhancement unit. When it closes, you create a condition of the womb and a condition of the position of life. As every planet is a womb for a life which it creates itself for itself. It's you who has to understand. In so many ways, as man opens the doors of the universe, we'll find that many, many, many travelers of the universe will never and can never land on this planet because the condition of this planet is the virus which is killing man in China. We meet in the open spans of the universe. We greet each other in the spans of these galaxies, but we might never be able to bring a friend home, as home can be death sentence to the friend. The same for us. And this is a new way for mankind to learn about what is to come, what is to be, and what it needs to be in that process. As we explained, KFSSI research teams have already started. They gathered themselves, they are forming and shaping this month. And hopefully by beginning of February, the real work starts. And part of the work of the researchers in KFSSI has to be the understanding of the field forces of plasma in a virus level. The virus is to understand how the cell allows itself to connect, what allows the man's, what we call amino acids of the soul and the DNA and RNA to connect themselves with another energy. Is this a need, shortage of, or the wish of? Many of the knowledge seekers' research time has to go into understanding the strength of every field which comes out of every star and planet, but how interacts and affects us. In so many ways, as knowledge seekers, the peace dividend is research dividend. Now that we have more time and more finances will be available for nations to spend on research, and there's less to spend on arms, then these kind of researches for space become necessary. Those in Keshe Foundation will take lead in the coming time, but Keshe Foundation will be putting universities to become lecturers and teachers in these fields. In effect, what I'm looking for in the KFSI education pack of research is the scientists who can go to universities after they complete studies to chair researchers to teach to the others. And then we can support. As we have seen, one of the good knowledge seekers of Brazil has managed to put some 20 doctors as a knowledge seekers together in a hospital. And I've given them 10 hours of private teaching directly to these doctors, that they can bring the process directly into the hospitals to their patients. This is important for us, not only on the medical side, even on the agricultural side. We have to be able to understand the totality of the knowledge. And one of the reasons I'm stepping down totally is to be able to teach one by one most of the knowledge seekers and in depth the edge of technology to the scientists. Administration and running of the Keshe Foundation is not my job. And in that effect, what you will see, for example, accidentally or by whatever, the conference in Mexico will be run by the head of the Keshe Foundation, as she's taking more and more responsibility off my shoulder, and she decides the running of the Keshe Foundation. The respect for her has to stay sacrosanct. She's put all her life to the foundation, and in so many ways, it's there. Her presence is my presence, and in so many ways, we share the knowledge. But the dedication of her to the Keshe Foundation has been one of the cornerstones that we are still here. And in so many ways, in time to come, as I spend less time and time, as knowledge seekers, you have to start running the foundation and understand, to set up courses, to set up structures, to make the humanity ready in the coming month for interaction with the universal community. Understand how you will manage it, how you will structure it, how the Universal Council and Earth Council take charge to guide humanity with the head of Keshe Foundation as is run. The job is not easy. You have seen one small virus has brought mayhem to nations. Now we can expect what more. In so many ways, you've got to understand, gradually, as knowledge seekers, you've taken charge of the foundation for centuries to come. It has to be correct, it has to be done on the basis of devotion to humanity, not to the foundation. And in that way, the foundation becomes humanity. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Keshe. As usual, I'll remind the attendees they can put their hand up so they can ask a question directly. And we do have some questions ready to go about the...
Can I say something before you put the question up? I see you have on the screen. It says Mexico City, Kenya, Nairobi, Iran, Tehran. The Iran conference is under a lot of pressure to be going through. Those of you who go to the Iranian embassies, please hold on for another 2 weeks till everything is done inside Iran. This conference is a very important conference, bears the bear of the peace and science and technology, and it has to be done under full control of the Iranian government. And the Keshe Foundation team is working on it. Please wait till we tell you when you can go to the embassies to start applications and what is needed to do. And we'll see if we can get any kind of clearing fast lines for the Keshe Foundation knowledge seekers who enroll for Tehran conference or already have enrolled for Tehran conference. Iran's situation is very, very delicate. Iran is taking the leadership in science and technology, and at the same time become the cradle of new space technology. And it takes time to let and get the Iranian leadership to understand the proposition on the table. We have received very good signs from the what we call the last week's Friday talk of His Eminence Ayatollah Khamenei. Iran will become the cradle of new space technology. And with that space, and with that understanding of His Eminence talk on the Friday prayer, technology and science will take lead and shape in Iran and will lead the world. But we need not just the Keshe Foundation knowledge seekers, but the supporter of government to support on reaching agreement with the Iranian government on the conference. We expect the invitation of His Excellency President Trump to Tehran to be present. Official invitations, if the meeting agreed, will go directly to the White House. We do not use any intermediaries. We put out the hand of peace from Tehran, as we did with Obama's administration. At the same time, the invitation will go to all the world leaders, President Xi of China, to His Excellency President Putin. We make the Tehran conference post for peace and knowledge and signing of end of wars. We're waiting for clear instructions from Tehran. If the Iranian government and administration is prepared to take the lead of peace in having the first Sepah ready to control and support humanity towards peace of what we're seeing, at the same time bring all the knowledge seekers of the world together in their own nations under one roof of sharing knowledge. The Tehran conference is more or less the turning point for a lot of things, and it's the first time we collaborate with the government for the conference. The other conferences was done by and through Keshe Foundation team. This time is a collaboration of the two. And in that process, I expect the Iranian administration to invite, on the religious level, the heads of the Jewish community in Tel Aviv as Vatican. When you put the olive branch of peace, it has to be to everyone and not selective view. Then you have not achieved peace. You have selected to create conditions for more war in the future. The Tehran conference has to become a point that we see the Muslims, the Jews, the Christians, and the rest don't sit and to become one. They accept that the humanity has moved to a new level and guide humanity to the new understanding of the soul of the man. Then you understand why the Tehran conference has to be agreed and released and authorized by His Eminence Ayatollah Khamenei of Iran. Otherwise, it will be useless. And for that reason, we hope we will receive the approval from the Office of His Eminence. It's the celebration of the peace, celebration of coming together as one nation, and celebration of sharing knowledge together at the same time. Before we go into this session, there is something important that will affect the work of the Keshe Foundation in coming weeks and months, and we might propel us into front news for the wrong reasons, but in a way, it's the reason we are here. As you have heard in the news, what we call, have to find a word for it in so many ways. What we said, as I said, when the King of Belgium asked me to give this beautiful technology to them to control the mankind, and I refused, and we went on exile, and following all the things we went through. And part of the result of that is why we cannot attend Mexican conference. The shameful King of Belgium has accepted that he has an illegitimate daughter, which she claimed on the year we left Belgium. When I sat with the Belgians, I told them, when I leave, your monarchy will go. I left in February. This shameful man stepped down as a king on the cases of being sick, but in fact at the same time was hit with a petition from the court that he had a daughter, illegitimate daughter. So the stepping down was not for the daughter, he was lying to the nation, as he's done lied all the time in his life. And he lied to the nation that he was sick and he had to abdicate. And he became a normal citizen. And at the same time in 2013, as he knew the case is coming to the court, fake application and fake illness. He refused to give blood and was forced last May to pay a heavy penalty or give blood to confirm that the girl is his. He lied to his nation for 50 years, as everybody knew, in having a daughter, and now on 27th, 3 days ago, he has accepted the girl to be his illegitimate child. It happens to many people, but the way as a head of a nation he lied, and he kept on lying, and he's done this immensely. This is beautiful to the Keshe Foundation, and it's the reason I brought it up. We have a second man who has paid for the patents of the application, and he claims to be the 5th child of this family. As the blood of this man now is part of the court evidence, is open to public to be tested. And we would like the man who has paid for the patents of the Keshe Foundation that you all received, with his generosity, he paid Mr. Red Circle by check, because I've seen the check, that his blood to be tested to the King of Belgium, ex-King of Belgium. And to that effect, we want to show if he is, as we know he is according to his claim, and it looks like his family, and if it is, it shows the royal family of Belgium is into criminal activities, a son hidden to carry out clandestine activities of stealing technologies and sciences. We explain to you in more detail in the future. This court case will become a cornerstone of our court case in European Court of Justice. A lying king can lie as much as he likes. Now we know he lied. He lied to a nation, to his nation as a king. He lied to a daughter, and he refused to accept till the court said there is no, he cannot say no. The evidence is very clear. But this opens another channel. There are 50 cases of murder of children under age of 10 and 9 sitting in the courts in France. That time, the man claimed immunity, being a prince, a common man. We will ask the European Court of Justice to open these cases in France to confirmation of DNA for sexual abuse and murder of children. As I told you, when we finish, there shall be no king. And now you understand why the present king paid a visit to Canada, the way the present Prince of England paid a visit to Canada. Don't forget, together they've stolen so many technologies like mine, so their investments is there. They think they use it. But we have to make sure nobody benefits by that crime. We are waiting for the European Court to allocate a time and date, and very soon we announce the date of the court of Fabio in Italy for his matter. Now you understand how the game of fate played. It says, on 20th of January 2020, it was determined through DNA test that King Albert II of Belgium is the father of the girl. This is in Wikipedia. So what we see, we have to add many names fathered and many names killed by the same DNA test. And Keshe Foundation, European Court of Justice, and then in European Human Rights Court will bring these right through. These are as part of our evidence now. It's a public domain, and we demand the people who paid for the patents and the people who wrote the patents who is their real father, who is their real soul to. And then we, as part of our evidence, we can show a collective harassment and killing of scientists organized by state. Very interesting. What a simple DNA blood test, swab of a mouth, liquid of the mouth can shut the mouth. Keshe Foundation states very simply, we deliver the man who we have put for a long time on the table, who have been there. The bank account of the Red Circle has to be checked by the authorities that he received a payment of 1,600 euro as a payment for writing the patent, and he issued an invoice for it. And I have seen all of it. So we can connect the whole structure together. This is a very happy news for a girl who had to fight to confirm a man is his father, and it's a shame on a nation that they accepted a man as a king. A cheat, a liar, and the rest. He lied to a man, to a woman, to a nation, and you don't expect him to lie that he never said what he said or what he said. But what I was looking at is official pictures and his demeanor in the pictures sitting next to me. It shows how it's orchestrated. They've been made to look the devil in the skin of sheep. When you see the queen, and you see the picture of the king with his camera, you can see how much they have lied in everything their nations, even by their look. Thank you very much. But this is one of the news, at least we can celebrate it. We can bring the killers of Fabio to justice and many other things. Maybe, as I said, we bring peace to 50 families who've been sitting for years claiming immunity. There is no more immunity. The saliva is part of the court evidence and can be used. Thank you very much. You see a picture of pedophile. Thank you very much. Are there any questions?
Okay, well, we do have some questions from before regarding the presentation you made with the One Cup, One Life video. And some people are a little confused, I guess, that they may not have some of the knowledge that most knowledge seekers have about the Ganses and so on. So a lot of new people are getting introduced through that video. In fact, I noticed, Mr. Keshe, that video now has, just a second here, 31,495 views on YouTube, which over
plus many on
days.
other channels and transmissions.
Yes. But that's, I think that's one of the best videos that the Keshe Foundation's ever put out for views. And it's going more or less viral at that rate. So that's pretty good.
The best we had up to now was about 3 million video, which we released about the earthquake about 5-6 years ago. In the last weeks we were in Belgium, was watched over 3 million times. And then we don't know where it disappeared to. Still there somewhere in the background. Any questions?
Mr. Keshe, Doug here. I'm just wondering, in relation to the European Court of Justice would that perhaps be the reason, the real reason behind England's exit from the European Union?
No, England released from European Union, had it built and done because of the what we call the invasion of African nation. When they invaded Libya, as I said before, they're expecting 14 billion loot share between America, France, Germany, Italy, and United Kingdom. And they always said that Gaddafi has squandered everything, they've taken everything to his family and whatever. But when they got to the central bank, there was 140 billion plus in the banking gold reserve. And then the British took all before anybody knows. They did what Hitler did, they squandered, they took everything to the King of or the Queen of England. They were ordered to return and share the loot because thieves wanted to share. And British monarchy said the present president of Libya is theirs, so they passed rules very rapidly in the structure by their own man who they put in there, and they kept the money. They would not share it, and that was an immediate response. You leave the European community. In a way, we loot, we share, we steal together, or the one who doesn't share gets kicked out. This is why, if you look, the whole root of Brexit came from that point. There was no sign, anything of it. France and Germany want England out, that they will never do such a thing. And you will see the moment the Brexit comes into operation, and new ways of sanctions and control will come by the European Community on England. You got to understand, the only way England can get food is from the United States if they put the pressure on. You will understand the game is set up by the Germany. Germans are very punctual punishers. And 140 billion is a lot of gold. We saw them paying back with taking the monarchy, as you understand, but this time is the punishment for that, and all the public going and voting is all gimmick. They have no choice. They close the borders. You got to understand, closing borders for England, especially from France and what they call Holland, is death to this nation. They will get all of it back, but you know, the what we call Rothschilds play centuries game. They don't play tomorrow's game. As you know, Vatican took all the controls of the Church of England back to Vatican. Queen is just the name head. They will take everything back, but a lot of misery and pain for the British nation. These things was recovery of a lot of money which happened in past 20 years in different shapes for the Rothschilds family. Money was transferred to the other families, and as they fight inside each other, they play these games. The same way as a lot of you never understood how come a pope abdicated, and usually they kill the pope, or pope accidentally dies. The first ever, more or less for 700 years, a pope abdicating is a German. Because up to that time, Pope had the right to move all the gold, and he did, and moved it to Berlin under the control of the Rothschild family. And by the time the Vatican found out they had no reserve, there were two choices: kill him or do something. And the Germans negotiated for his life, and they said he goes to bow wow, silence, not to tell how what they did. But you have to understand, why did these golds were moved to Berlin for Rothschilds? If you go back, the root of it sits some 5 or 7 years before, when the European community ran into problem. Spain, Portugal, Ireland, and Greece. If you remember, there were crises. Vatican guaranteed these to the European government because they were Catholic governments, and upheaval in Catholic, they had the uprising in the North Africa, with the Islamic nations could not go. So in a way, Vatican underwrote to the European community governments for the securities, and we saw how things changed. And now the Rothschilds called in the debts and they took the gold. This is how the money from Vatican ended up in Berlin. The guarantees given to bring stability to the five nations, as we know, if you go back in the news, they were in financial crisis, people were on the street. And Vatican cannot see what they set up to rob all the European nations and then the world with as a European community was falling apart. And they give guarantees. They actually sign papers. These are not just by talk. And the Rothschilds call in the debts when there was enough, and they had their own Pope in position. They deliberately took that Pope into position, the German Pope, to be able to do this because they knew the loophole, they can do it. And they called the debts, and he transferred literally all the golds of the Vatican to what you call Central European Berlin Bank to pay for the guarantees to save these five nations during the crisis. And these are all connected. No, if you are not in it and you don't work within the structure of the international world security finance, like the way we do, you don't see the pattern of the work. But these are all connected to each other. And as we've seen, the Pope which had to have a vow of silence spoke. And actually, he speaks a lot and is really traveling everywhere. And if you don't know why ever the vow of silence came in, he is one of the first men ever we know historically put on a vow of silence. Because by the Catholic Church, the vow of silence came only for nuns when they were pregnant by the priests. And you couldn't have a nun walking in a church with the belly sticking out. So they made this clumsy claim of vow of silence, not to show that the bird and the bee has been busy in the name of the Ruach God. So we see the first man, but this time he was pregnant with a lot of gold, not with a child.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe.
You're welcome. Any other question?
Are there any other live questions for Mr. Keshe? We can go to some other questions regarding the Ganses and so on.
Yes. It says, can you explain the differences of amino acid formed in different Ganses? And this amino acid has COZN behind, in connection with the flight and the creation of shuttle that was shown in Iran. My mother's son, soul to soul physicalist, made a flight with what we call UFO, but with other searchers know these ships. What does this mean? Can someone explain? The amino acids, every amino acid is unique to the cup which has made it. All your amino acids, Rick, I think your microphone is open. Every amino acid is not the same. Hello, Rick.
That's Jamila, actually. I'm just wondering.
Is that Jamila? Hi, Jamila. We would like a cup of coffee as well. understanding of the amino acid which you making one cup, one life is totally different than that, due to the position, the distance between the nano-coated materials and non-nano-coated, salinity, field energy in the environment where you made it, positioning, and many other factors. So each amino acid is unique. But what I don't understand, it says in connection with the flight and the creation of the shuttle that was shown in Iran. It says my brother's son made the flight with what we call UFO. I don't understand what that this means.
Dan, can you speak there? Is that possible on your question?
Yes, thank you, Rick. Good morning, Mr. Keshe. My question is about, I know it's a unique amino acid created in top of this cup for life. But last time you are saying it's every amino acid create with guns in the bottom and the field inside or outside. It's unique.
Yeah.
Different strength, different ratio, different yes, different strength. My question is, when in the also in the plasma reactor is debated this no problem discussion. It's how, when you have nano coating layers and the copper, like when you have the iron and galvanized combined materials, you have the strength behind, like iron and zinc. It's interaction between the matter and the not between the matter and matter, between the strength field of the matter and the nano matter and matter. When create the amino, go ahead.
I don't understand your question.
How is different when you make one unique amino acid and when you have the, you change the plate, the materials space in space, when you putting in middle or when you putting behind one plate or to other, is different strength.
Yeah.
You choose the pencil from 1 centimeter or I don't know. You choose the ratio length of wires in certain way. You choose the cup and distance between in certain way. You choose the salinity in certain way. You bring down the energy level of this gas and amino acid with the nano coating fire and the use of current. It's right.
Yes, but the thing is, in a coming time, we don't use plates anymore, as we show a production of the gases through energies. We don't have the salts and the water in the universe to be able to create conditions. So we have to create the strength of the salt and whatever from the fields of the plasma. These will be shown in the enhancement unit. And in the next generations of the enhancement units, so we'll see there is nothing but plasma. We don't see gases, we don't see materials. We even replicate the field strength of the gases. We even replicate the field strength of the matter state, that the matter does not need to be there. As I said in the last teaching, when we will show the first 2 reactors, we were hoping to be able to do it next week. As you know, China is shut down. Keshe Foundation team has to sit out. The factories cannot be open. We hope that they don't extend it beyond 10. We would have shown you the new spaceship reactors, even one for the material and one for the what they call enhancement of the body of the man. In the coming time, then you decide on the field strength in how and what as a matter energy is created. Do we need to go through energy to create the GANs, to create the energy to use the GANs for another energy, or as you will see, a more advanced version of it in the coming enhancement units? We don't need that anymore. Because to create a matter state, you have to reach what we call a heartbeat, a balance of the 2 upper and lower level of the material. And now that we are gradually establishing the data, you will see that none of this is needed. When you look at the I'm trying to share the screen.
Mr. Keshe, in the meantime, the purpose of create the GANs is for learning how behave the soul in the community, universal community, like a magra for sharing, for giving, learning for give to the
It
others.
has different applications. It depends how you can see it. Excuse me, can I have the ability to share, please? I cannot share. Why? Why?
Does that help with?
If you come up with white screen, maybe I can do.
Okay.
You see, in the body of the man, we call it a heartbeat. And if you look, what is a heartbeat? Is the 2 sequences of what I call life. And in that sequence, you have to understand the 2 positions of the field strength. The field strength in the body of a man is this shape, and then he finds his balance, and he goes back up in this shape. The sign in the, as I've explained before, when it comes to this point, you get a poop. When it comes to here, you get a bip. And this position of change gives the man the heartbeat. And this heartbeat creates the strength or the bandwidth that GANs can work within. This is what most of you as knowledge seekers have not understood. The strength of your GANs dictates the speed of your the strength of your heartbeat. In the matter state, as we are all seen but never understood in the world of science, you have the heartbeat like this, where in Physical life is like this. In the state of what we call vegetation, the beat is like this, more or less. Usually goes like this. In this side we see more rectangular, but usually this is the kind of shapes you see. This is a solid state frequency, or you call the bandwidth. This is a plasma life bandwidth, and this is what we call plasma vegetation bandwidth. And the beauty with the vegetation or with trees is they have this beautiful possibility that they can do this. They can do this. They can change this as they wish. And that's why they can live a winter and summer life. With the humans we cannot do. But if we control the bandwidth of this cycle of life through breathing, we can change it slightly to different. Or if we can change it in another way, we can extend it. And what we call the heartbeat, the strength, in the coming time, mankind will understand how to do it, and how even you can change some of these to the point of what we call feeding and a way of transfer of energy. This is why when you add a field into area where the vegetations are, you change this more or less, if you look at it, where maybe originally was this. With the availability of the field, you harmonize and make it constant, and the plant can live with. Doesn't matter how it's connected to amino acid, which bandwidth. With human life, you cannot do this because we live with one central beat, where the plants have given the freedom of motion to the central beat of the planet. So they tune to it. That helps them with their work. They don't carry as such of what we call secondary backup. Plants tune it to this, but because we, as a human, we move around all the time, we change our position to this, and this has created a new dilemma for our lives and existence. Our lives, the way it is in what we call human life, is very much dictated by the earth. In depth of the space, this will change when we become regular visitors. Any other question?
If you allow, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Why I learning how to breathe, how to keeping down the heartbeat, or popping up with, I don't know, 100 from 16, yes, 15 heartbeat, or too close to the 200. with breathing, or how to. My question is, why I learning change? It's a double street, because I hear when I breathe, I hear my heartbeat, and it's changed through the emotion, through the my emotion.
Yeah, because you still live in a human life and you haven't learned yet, you're still trying to learn. And maybe I open a door for you somewhere to have a look at something else. If you understood this, that whatever the passage of your breathing through, or with the food you take through, you want to control this to elevate this. What you have not learned, which is normal with the humans, why don't you control this? Control this. If I control the strength of the fields of my soul, do I need to eat or to breathe? But you're human and you think it's the way to do it. So you use the hardest part, as men usually do. If you understand and find the position of your soul in the dimension of the creation of your own physicality, why are you going through the process of breathing control? Why don't you work through the process of the soul to feed the physical?
I already done in certain way. I don't sleep, I don't know, for 24 or 48 hours. I feel only with emotion. I stay in the Zoom day and night, and I don't sleep, I don't eat in the physicality way. I find the way through to the feeding from the soul level.
So gradually more people will learn this. But the thing is, extend it to 100 days, 100 years. 48 hours to something like about 200 hours is normal. You have not passed the barrier yet. 48 hours is very normal. A lot of people can go without a food and sleep and be as good as. I show the trick to the knowledge seekers, what they call it, one of the classes, that how you can stay awake in a longer time and be more energetic by drinking a coffee. If you add a little bit of salt to your coffee, you can go hyperactive. You think sugar makes you hyperactive and you can stay awake? Try salt and coffee. Because salt is part of your life. It's the channel of the solution, dilution of energy.
I have the trouble with my wife because I eating many, so much salt in extreme, sweet and salt.
Or they must have a Chinese background, so salt. No, sweet and salt is the Iranian culture. We eat that quite a lot. It's part of the, what do you call, the structure of the food. But the salt does this. When I was a young boy, my mom used to tell me I used to eat I used to consume huge amount of sugar and huge amount of cheese. And my mom used to say, you're eating so much cheese, it makes you thick. But I think she didn't realize I knew the secret of the energy. You have a protein and salt available, you add sugar with it. Is that lasting motors? And the thing is, because it's milk, it just goes directly to the brain, and you can see the difference. Any other question?
We have G-Man with his hand up here. There, I'll have to allow you to speak.
Hello there. Hi, everyone.
Where
Hi,
are you from?
I am Persian Canadian, an Iranian Canadian. I live in Lithuania.
My God, what a mixture. Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
At least we haven't had one from planet Zeus or somewhere else on Earth. It's good.
Yes. Mr. Keshe, I have noticed, I mentioned this question on the Q&A. It's off the topic. I have noticed a problem sharing Keshe Foundation's videos on internet. I was wondering if first I am the only one, or which I doubt it. And why is this? And do you have?
This is part of the control by Rothschild family and Fox. And you have to understand, we promote peace and the way it goes. And in the past few weeks, you know where the Facebooks and others sit, who owns them. And so they get instructions and they work on instructions. And the owner of these organizations are not very favorable with what they see as damage to their interest. We had this, we know it exists. If you go to Wikipedia, you cannot find the Keshe Foundation or Mehnat Arakuri Keshe, because they decided if it doesn't exist in us, nobody will search for it. But unfortunately, they searched more for it and they found more about it because the guy exists. There are things about it. So people are becoming aware of the wonderful arrogance and control of these organizations. So it does not really matter. 2 or 3 times Wikipedia, 4 times has been put up and they take it down, because if it's not here, it doesn't exist. That's the mentality of what I call the Jewish mentality. You will understand this very easily. They've decided that if it doesn't exist on the internet, on the Wikipedia, but they don't understand, Facebook has lost its face value. And now we see very strange things happening. I saw a beautiful article coming out from presentation of President Trump a couple of days ago with the president of Israel. And if you can bring it up, if you can find it anywhere on the internet, he says the state of Palestine will be accepted as an independent state when blah, 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 blah happens. And he refers to, if I'm correct, they have to show there is no fraud and there is no, what do you call it? There's a word he uses for it. And the strange thing is the man standing next to it in the court of Israel is standing for 2,000 cases of fraud and deception. It's ironic. The guy says he wants, when the Palestinians are not involved in this exactly what the guy standing next to him as the Prime Minister of Israel, and the word he uses, it was amazing. If I can find it. And I said, if that's the condition of a nation to become a nation, how come the guy who's supposed to be the head nation's got 2,000 of them on a court case by his own parliament wrote on him? If you put it Palestinian deal or whatever, just a couple of days ago, he offered them 50 billion to create peace between them, accept the fourth independent nation. all the things he goes back to. Can you find it, Rick? It's on the internet. And he refers exactly to what the guy standing next to is literally convicted of, will be convicted of in his own country. This is the hypocrisy we see. And it's very, very interesting. If you find that article, it's part of the speech of Trump on Middle Eastern peace talk, or he was going to offer a new deal for Middle East. You got to understand the American administration now, after what happened in what do you call in Baghdad 2-3 weeks ago, doesn't talk about war with Iran anymore. It's all wiped out of the internet. Everything else which was there is disappeared, and we see, and this is normal. Don't get upset. Many Keshe Foundation people have done that. If you go on the Facebook, there are many Mehran caches. They allow anything fraud, anything rubbish to be put in. And the owner of the, what do you call, Facebook, he knows. He actually encourages it, because don't forget, he has a big problem. All his space programs, whatever he's done, is going to obsolete. NASA used him as a donkey till NASA can develop what do you call it, their own processes that him carry the, what do you call, this is part of what it is.
Mr. Keshe, Facebook now long time belongs to CIA. They bought it.
Oh, don't worry about these things. That's their problem. Everybody owns everything at the moment, because you should own a share in the market of when you own it. Any other question?
So I was trying to find that, that quote, and I'm having a hard time getting there's lots of news articles, but getting the actual quotes is a bit more difficult. I'll keep looking for that. There is some other questions. Just a second here. People are coming up with questions about the interaction of the virus energy and the depletion of the virus. Bente, for example, has a question. She has 3 questions. The first one is, in what magnetical and gravitational way does the virus energy get depleted by giving its energy to either the lower energy of the body or the GANs? And she's asking if you could please draw on the whiteboard for easier understanding.
I don't understand.
Okay, let me read it again in a different way. In what magnetical and gravitational way does the virus energy get depleted by giving its energy to either the lower energy of the body or of the GANs? Maybe I'll go to question 2, which is sort of the same. How come the GANs water is of a lower energy than the body GANs? So there's this idea of we have the GANs,
body GANs. Body GANs is always composites of many.
Forging peace between
and what do you call the energy GANs of when we talk about GANs of the body, you have composite of many copper, zinc, and many elements. And the virus links usually to the amino acid. And in the life of the dynamic life of the amino acid, this will use the energy and it gives out, and gradually, like a flu or whatever, till it comes down. In our case, we put the amino acid and we attach two little things, maybe zinc or CO2 to it. Now you can see the difference. It depletes, and through the line of connection, this gets part of energy. This does not deplete completely. And so this becomes, let's say, like this. Still there, but there's energy that where this grew from this to this is what we call camel bird. They carry now energies which does not attach to none. This is how it works. And the reason we ask you to put amino acid, because then it's easy, connections very rapid. Keshe Foundation has developed a new technology that we control amino acid in all directions, even directly to the soul of the man. And this amino acid it'll be used extensively in the new enhancement units. That's why when I tell you, when you go to these enhancement units, we elevate the soul of the man, and nobody can copy it. Because it's a combination of things, part hidden, part in technology, part connection to the cosmos. I've used to bring it. I carry the knowledge of the universe. And it's very easy when you know how to play. This is what I tell you. Very soon we will see lights coming from these enhancement units, the strength of the soul of the man. And very soon these will be very easily explained in that process. And this is what I said when, for example, we asked the Pope to go into the machine, and then we enhance his soul and he becomes a light, as he can claim to be the Christ. Because you'll find out the light of the Pope will shine the same as sterling. They come from the same behavior. This is what you will see. And in so many ways, I know the technology and I know the structure of the body of the man, and you will see it. That's why I told you, you buy as many machines that can fake. If you get it, we salute you. Be careful you don't come out as a pig. There's an African flu for it. You will see many will come out of the machine as a soul. And then when they come out, they have to decide they want to stay as a light or they take dimension of physicality. You got to remember, a leader has to lead his nation and his people first. You know the olden days when we had the Iranian Empire. The king always was in front of his soldiers. That's how he gained respect. I wonder if the Pope will do the same. Don't forget, he's the first Jesuit soldier of the church. In an interview which last week was made for the Iranian television, hopefully to be broadcasted soon if they get the permission to do. The interviewer asked me why you are like this. I said it's a big problem. I come from line of Kohen in a Jewish religion. I come from the line of Sayyid from the Muslim side. And the two cannot be killed. And that is why the Jewish state has a problem in killing Keshe, and so is the Islamic state. We cannot touch the blood of Prophet. Let's see if we can bring peace to man. It does not matter what he wears. Any other question?
Mr. Henry asks in the YouTube, in your research, Mr. Keshe, are there any more than 20 amino acids?
Do you want to know the number of amino acids? I don't have enough words, sorry about that.
I guess.
Let me explain why. Let me explain why. A simple thing. I was explaining to the Iranian knowledge seekers this week. This is the 3 layer of the skin of the man. And each one, and each position, different cells. Each one exists and holds, doesn't matter what shape, a specific magnetic field which leads to the manifestation of the what we call physical skin. Mirage. Our skin is nothing but mirage. So if you realize number 1 has a different salt content to number 2, to number 3, to number 4, to number 5, to number 6, to number 8 and 10 and 7 and whatever. Each one holds a position according to the specific salinity and a specific position. Wow. I must have been a very good teacher today. I'm getting a cake and a tea. Good service. I'll come back to this hotel.
Be careful, it's still hot.
So, if each one has to have a specific salinity to be a cell in that point, now tell me, do you have 20 salts? But then you have to understand this one carries the salinity of the salt of the certain, and this carries salts of certain, and then the same. This always carries potassium, calcium, phosphor, and sulfur salt. This one carries other way. And this one is totally different by order of magnitude the strength. And then on top of it, there's salinity. The salt combination in the body of the man is the backbone of the structure. In the homeopathy, they believe in 12 salts. And I know some of our doctors work that way. But with me, we work with no condition, understanding of the position, what it needs to be. And the mastership of the man will come when, for example, you can do the 4 chambers of the heart and the connection of the blood vessels, and what we call the vessels which sit around on top of the blood, the arteries. Then you see how small salinity allows the connection, change of salinity and change, and then what salinity allows the what we call flexibility and allowing to be able to shake all the time. You put a car on the road and shake it as much as the heart shakes for the lifetime of it shakes, and this thing never rips apart at the point of the pipe and the engine, because continuously adjust the salts. Body of a man is a marvel of engineering of the plasma physics. If one day man's knowledge reaches the point that he can change one single cell, and be able to replicate it again and again in the same position, that the order of the others don't change, then man might have reached the point of understanding maybe 1/10 of 1/10 of 1% of the knowledge of the universe.
Mr. Keshe, so Stephen had asked, can we multiply amino acids like growing salt crystals?
Of course. God does it, why can't you do it?
And then Skywalker in the Q&A asks, can I multiply my 2 souls?
Why? Would you like a bigger head or a bigger toe?
Does not the creator create more creators? Would that be, maybe that's what he's referring to, or could refer to?
We always create. We always create. A man who puts limitation means he's reached the limitation of his own understanding. In the knowledge of
creation, there is no limitation. And I'll say that many times. I always said, man will understand this technology according to his intelligence. And some of them intelligent leads and ends up with 3 words, PhD. That's it. I want to live off it for the rest of my life. I got myself donkeyed with 3 words. I'm very clever with 3.
Dan asks, if we know how to stop eating, why do we do it? I am sure of pleasure for the emotional satisfaction of that taste that tickles my soul.
A woman asked me this question years ago. She said, why do you come here if you have everything? I said, there is a pleasure in a physical dimension, and we come here to enjoy the presence of it. In the life of a man, in dimension of physicality, is pleasure of feeling that physicality. Be it an animal, be it a woman, be it a flower, and seeing it, doesn't need to touch it. And as I always say to Caroline, she says, what are you looking at? I said, I'm admiring the beauty of what I've created. And that's why we come here, to admire what can be created with and what it can be given. And in so many ways, we come to the dimension of physicality to understand the limitation. As I said once to a friend, I said, do you know what's the difference between the theory and fact? Theory is that in the universe we make a lot of assumptions. The fact is we come here and we see what the humans in physical dimension done with it. And you write a lot of papers, this is going to happen to this and this. And you go to the laboratory of universe, we call it Earth, to see if that theory works. And it did. And so now you understand why we come here and observe sometimes. We want to see what we assume theoretically worked physically in the physical dimension of this existence. I call it the lab of universe, and we have many of these labs, but these creatures are special. I never forget the first time Karen says, why did you come here then? I said, she's there, somebody she can tell you. I said, it's the pleasure of existence, touching, feeling, smelling, and loving. Then we want to see if what we did in theory works in reality and practicality.
I think, Mr. Cash, it's not difficult to see that in in the practice here on Earth.
Oh, everything is possible. I had a big discussion with Arma this morning. He says, you're not coming to Mexico. I said, I'm not coming because I don't want to be killed or be in prison with Caroline and Ruben in prison for months to come. He says, then it's so, I said, it's very simple. I came here to share knowledge, not to prison and imprison for the knowledge. And it depends what we decide to do with these pleasures of life and imprisonment of physicality. You know, it's very much like you go and teach and you build, and your theory, they build something, and then later on you see your invention in a shop and or in somebody's home or somewhere and say, oh, this is what I invented.
This is what we see with the soul of the man in the span of the universe. Say this is what was created on Earth. And then we see a lot of problems with everything which is exported out of Earth. It's like, you remember 20 years ago, made in China, everything was faulty till they got it right. So it's made in Earth, we have come to fix it. Chinese took time to fix their products. It took man millions of years to fix it. So we come to fix. What shall we call it today?
Okay, did you want to see any of the pictures of various knowledge seekers setups for the one cup? Or shall we?
Yeah, I've seen one beautiful one. Yeah, why not? We share knowledge.
Okay.
Let's see what. It's amazing since, as I said before, since the Maghreb system that many knowledge seekers try to make, this is the first time knowledge seekers are at it again. It's just like they were waiting for something to come from Papa to see how we can do it. So let's see what inspires, or does it die again with the Maghreb?
Okay, let's see here.
There is a one, it's gorgeous. The way it's done, I think it's so simple and so beautiful. I think you can find it. It's a piece of wire and it's hung a zinc. He's hung a nano coat. He's actually nano coated the wire itself. And then he's put the copper here. And these wires coming out of the plastic. And it's connected these two together with a battery. And this one with a battery. It's so simple, it's beautifully done.
Do you want the picture of it, Mr. Keshe?
Yeah, if you
Just
have that one,
please,
Caroline, or if you can tell me, who it is, I might have it on my in my folder.
I'll pass it to you, Rick. Rick?
Mm-hmm.
I'll pass it to you, the picture.
Okay.
I think this is so simple and so beautifully done. And actually, you can connect the two without the battery to one. The way it's done, you can connect the two to one end and one the center to the other. The potential difference will be created. You don't need a battery, but the simplicity of it is such a, it just it's so sweet. Have you seen it? Can you share it?
I'm not sure which one you're meaning. I've got 15
It's
different ones.
it's a
lined up.
small
Oh, I
piece of
see.
white.
Keshe, Mr. Keshe,
Yeah.
I just sent it to Rick.
Yeah, I want to find out who that's from. I forget.
No, there is no name, no nothing on it. I blanked it out. You just have the picture.
Yeah, why don't we give credibility to them? Why?
Just a second, I need to go and find the name.
Give a job to Red Circle to go and threaten their wives and their lives because they showed something on the internet. That's his job. Now his boss is in the problem. He's going to get a bigger problem. Whoever we showed.
It was done from the French team.
French team.
Oh, yes, right.
These French are good, huh? Everything has to be very sexy and romantic. It's beautiful.
You got it, Rick? Yeah.
Yep, I've got your picture there. I've had another one with the unit actually set up as well. I just have to find it here. I think I might have. Yeah, I believe so. I think it's a series of pictures here. Bear with me a second.
It's also in the KF Wiki.
There it is. Okay, so I've got a number of pictures. There's
Sorry, Serena Caroline, you made me laugh.
This is different.
Yeah, this is the one. This is gorgeous. It's the simplicity of it. I think this sums it up.
There's another one that's similar here that I'll show.
How
I think
recycle? Sorry.
It's even the choice of the color to be nano coated and copper is fantastic. Yep.
There's a number of pictures from that. I think what I'll do is share my desktop and then layer the pictures on. It's kind of a montage.
I think you knowledge seekers are going to start putting things more to start getting you moving again. In the coming weeks, we launch new products, very scientific, technical products, which we use or might use in nano production, nanotechnology production, and or in the plasma detection or whatever. Yep. That is how easy to save a life.
So that's that basic setup. Let me show some other ones.
Mr. Keshe.
One is so
that was from Camarilla. I believe it was in the French Facebook. Okay.
Mr. Keshe. Hello.
Hello, Carolina. We hear you.
We hear you.
Okay. Good morning. I have had quite a numerous of times in my teachings, private teachings, that people keep on asking the questions with the magraphs. I said, you all have been asking the technical questions to Mr. Keshe, but you have never asked him to reveal what the magraph system actually is a gift to humanity. And I was waiting all this time to see, because we encouraged them on last Tuesday to put the questions through to Rick to ask about the magraph systems. And apparently nobody is daring to ask you or to open that door. But so many people have the magraphs made and they're working and they have bought them. But the finesse of your understanding what it is, I think it might be time for you maybe to open that door of beauty to all of us, the same way as you have given this beauty as the cup of life. Would it not be time, Mr. Keshe, to open it for the magraph too?
Do you want to see the rest of the images? I'm only about a third of the way through.
This shows the beauty of it, how simply you make answers. And a lot of people were expecting to see a green Gans.
And some people see a yellow gas due to the energy, high energy they choose in their battery. If your battery is not so flat, you see different colors of it. But again, is that the level of the gas in that strength of the copper? Here, you've seen something. Can you keep this picture, please? Here, you've seen something very, very, you've never seen. You have a condition here of what you say you think CO2. Here, you have a condition, sorry, you have a condition of CuO2. You have the condition of CuO2. Here, you have condition of carbon. But what you have to understand, all these pitches have a different strength. So as you create the same with here, you have set a flat of zinc, but different strength of what you call copper. You create a spectrum of the copper and CO2. Because it's not only this and this, it's this with all of it, and the same with this and all of it. And this is why the amino acid which you produce on the top here has a spectrum of. And this is why this thing is so effective. It carries its own amino acid spectrum, CO2 spectrum, but there is one thing hidden which you have never thought of, most probably, is now that you have created a gas condition, the condition of the matter copper with matter zinc. This is the connection between the brain of the man and the physicality of the man, is in the strength of the magnesium, more or less. And this is how most of the salts are made. Because these waters are in the condition of plasma of the universe. They're not just water. This is how salts are created in the universe. Gravitational pull in the matter state, which is what we call salt. This is the secret in this cup. And you were looking for something else. But this cup, when you produce it, has another secret, beautiful hidden secret. And that secret is very simple. As is the dynamic between here and here, why this system touches the man, the ill person is, the system has a soul. Because when these two, one is a sperm and one is an egg, and this is the womb of the mother. In fact, if you look at it, I have given you a real cup of life, where the real life starts. Originally, I thought this years ago and nobody understood. Maybe this time some of you understand. And then, in so many ways, if you turn this 90 degrees, you have the copper fields, you have the nano fields, and you have a zinc fields. Isn't this your maglev system? What did I tell you? I always told you, very, very easy. Why we do not need prophets. Because I'm another magician in the dimension of the universal knowledge. If you understand it, you'd have seen what I set up. Then in so many ways, if you understood that, answered the question which just was asked, the beauty of the maglev system is the soul in the center of it. We are looking for megawatts. I'm looking to energize the soul of the man. You come in with the wrong behavior, you get nothing from your maglev physicality. Maglev systems have an energy of the soul, and many of you will never understand because the man is so physically weak to understand the knowledge of the universe. How many times he said, if you put something on top of a maglev, feel the fields. Isn't that field this field? You sit on it, you get from it.
May I ask another extra question with this, Mr. Keshe?
Yep.
You remember a lot of maglev systems have been made with the crystal in the middle.
Yeah.
Can you explain more, please?
Hello.
You can hear me?
Yep.
I asked if you could explain more because there are maglevs which have been made with the crystals inside.
This is very much when you have crystals, you can unify singularity of the fields, chosen fields. And people who did maybe understood, maybe never understood. I explained when people start playing with crystals to understand what you link. You see, I'm gonna go, where are you, Rick? I'm gonna go to whiteboard. You see, when you have a planet, you have many fields. Come in and go out. You don't know which one is which. Does this one end up with the soul of my mother? And this one with the soul of the cat? And this is the strength of the soul of the stone? Or is this connected to the soul of the Mars or what? When you put a crystal in the system, and if you understood what the crystal was, as much as different energies come in and the rest of it, then
If you understand in the future, you decide I connect to this one. Or you decide I connect to this one. I want to go to the soul of my dog. Or I want to be mono, we call it laser monofield to the moon. Crystals will play game later on. Man has not got the knowledge yet. By the way, the tea was very nice. Can I have a repeat? It's very good. You can order tea on the line. That's good.
And a piece of
Exactly.
cake. Ooh.
And a piece of cake. You remember what they said, what the blonde girl did? Press the button help on the computer and went to the front door. I say press T, but I go to the front door and the tea comes. This is good when you have a gray hair. Now you understand the knowledge of crystals. But you have to understand where this homogeneity of the signal and the strength comes and goes to. But in the future, the knowledge seekers who expand in the space travel, they can do this. They close the circuit. Because you need the feedback of the same to be able to become part of the same. Iranian space technology scientists have reached out the space point. In Tehran conference, and the Center of Harmony allows, we will show technologies which man could ever dream. And as I said, why are we ashamed of the knowledge we have? Why we have to be proud of it? Any other question? This is an answer in a very direct way to Dr. Azar.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe.
If you understand something, it's very easy to understand, but if you don't understand it, you can sit there and scratch your head. Did I connect to the soul of the mother, or did I do what happened? This happened to me this morning. Caroline came down with our boss, Mr. Topoli. I usually greet him, cuddle him. He had everything he usually gets from me, plus his little trick or the treat. But he was going on and on. I said, Caroline, I don't understand what he's telling me. She said, you know what he says? When you came to the room, you closed the door, you didn't let him in. He's telling you he doesn't like you closing the door because he couldn't be with you. And when she explained that, he went quiet. Absolutely quiet. No more barking, not even a word. She understands the language of the dog, his soul. He wants to tell me next time you don't close the door because he always follows me and he gets treated. He's the boss. It's what we understand and how we are connected through this. Any other questions, shall we? We're nearly 3 hours line.
Yes, we can save the other pictures for next week, perhaps. So we can
There are no other
those.
questions.
You see, there's.
Can I share the picture with the magras, with one of the magras with the crystal, please? It's one that Klaus made in Austria.
Which one? Which Klaus?
This one.
We have many classes. Austria is full of classes. Like in Arabic countries, they're all Muhammad.
This is the one.
This Klaus must be Santa Claus.
Yeah, there is aloe vera on top of it. The soul is connected to it. Thank you very much.
I have a question, if I may, Mr. Keshe. This is Libby from a long time ago. Can you hear me okay?
Libby? Yes, we can, Libby.
I'm so delighted with this one cup. Thank you so much. I'm inspired again. So it's been, thank you. Thank you very much. My question was yesterday when I started making it, I decided to use magnesium sulfate instead of kitchen salt. Is that a good thing, or should I am going to make another one because I made a lot of.
Yeah, actually, the magnesium salt connects directly to the soul after that. Why not?
Excellent, because I felt like I had an interaction with it when I was going to bed last night. I felt like I was communicating with it, and I thought,
oh, you fell in love with it, is it?
I did. So
let's go to bed with me.
Well, my bed is below it in the next room upstairs, and I was just like, is that the reactor talking to me? I really was amazed. So I want to thank you again and again for what you've done for humanity.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
As I said, as long as it doesn't wet the bed, is good. Be careful how you keep it up.
Okay.
It is not, as I said, the limitation of this knowledge is a limitation of man's understanding of his own limitations. We limit our knowledge. There is no one right, no one is wrong. And this is what I said with the new technology. There is no peer review. If it gives you a result, you have to understand why. Why do you feel it when you choose salt or magnesium? Because in the brain of the man, we have mainly this very, 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 very little. You have a zinc. We hardly have zero copper. Very, very little. These are minute. And are used in very specific positions. You have a huge amount of what we call radioactive material. But we don't see this. Because this is the whole division of the cells of the body. And in so many ways, we have very limited amount of this. There is vast amount of what I call phosphor and sulfur connected to dimension of repair and multiplication of RNA. And if you have chosen any of these salts, then you have to understand where you're heading. If you notice here and here, each one has a specific reason and position. And each salinity between these and connection of the CO2, the reason you have a CO2 in your lung is very, very simple. And you have a CO2 in your brain. They feed each other. That's why they are placed above or below each other. And the line of connection is in CO2 in them. That's why when we breathe, when they start our breathing channel, the whole thing falls apart. When we breathe, we don't pass energy. The energy is outside the physical boundary. So this is what we see in the structure. So any of these salts you can choose, you can do. This is to do with the soul of the man. If you get this one and understand this one and the connection with this one, or connection with this one especially, then you can reach the soul of the man, the soul of your ancestors. But this needs a very deep understanding.
Is this also a reason why you need about 6 to 7% CO2 in our brain?
Without it, you don't have the connection with the lung. The field is created and controlled and linked up through the lung. One of the reasons we release CO2 is to keep the structure of the brain in order.
Now, is it done?
Because, let me explain something, please.
Yeah.
You got to understand, we create huge amounts of CO2. We think we breathe it out. But as we said, when you breathe, if you remember the body of the man and whatever, his mouth and his nose, you get the best, the highest energy. You do the same on breathing out. You give the highest energy which is needed for interaction with the physicality of the soul of the man. It's not that you just breathe CO2 out. It's the same process. The best of the highest energy for connection for breaths, for the physical construction connection with the body of the man comes on the way back too. And this CO2 is not only linking, but continuously confirming existence. We always look in what we take, and this is the biggest problem with human race. When, if you go back to the teaching in the past, I explained to you that when you read, the soul takes the best. The soul is a clever chap. When you breathe out, it takes the best of what is created new for itself too. Maybe for the first time, man understands why he gets CO2 out. Without it, that is why when we cut the throat or we cut the breathing line, the brain stops because it does not get what it needs to match, to link up and create a dimension of the connection with the soul. The breathing out is more important than breathing in because energy which is made for itself consumes it. It needs it, otherwise it cannot operate. If you allow people in coma or people in a deep shock state breathe through their nose and their lungs, they recover very fast because you energize what the body creates. It's literally the exhaust coming out is very much like people who drink their urine and they say they put things back. Because the body has made it, it's matching it, it's what it needs. It's not a conversion that you cross all the energy through the lung to the blood. That is for the blood. What comes out is for the soul of the man. The best could be done because it's made by itself. It's the first time I released this knowledge, but if you understand and go to my cups from 20 years ago, this is the first thing I consider. Breathe in and breathe out very, very slow, because the soul needs all what is created. You're destroying it, you think it's there.
Mr. Keshe, I have a question. You know, I do two kind of breathing. One is called Nadi Shuti, and one is called Sukha Kriya. Nadi Shuti, you have to sit in a specific position, and then you put your thumb on the right nostril, and you fold your two pointy finger and then middle finger, and you put your ring finger on your left nostril, and then you breathe, close your eyes, breathe very slowly in, and then very slowly out. And then you go to the right side, you start from the left, and you go to the right side, you breathe very slowly in, very slowly out. I do like for 7 to 10 minutes. And then this one, when you come out of it, is give you so much clarity. But the other one, the Sukha Kriya, is the one you sit in the same position, but this one you hold the 3 middle finger higher up, you put your thumb on your right nostril, your pinky on the left nostril, and this one is reversed. You start from the left, you breathe very slowly out of the left nostril, and you breathe in slowly, and you come to the right, breathe out first, and then breathe in. And then you do it for half an hour, and you breathe out of the left, you always breathe out of the left nostril, not breathing, you breathe out. And when you do this for half an hour, is a huge, as if you can actually feel your soul is outside your physical soul. It's a huge effect on the body. Like I try to do it like 3 half an hour a day.
I thought you were a dentist, you had a lot to do.
No, I do it between my patients sometimes. You know, if I sit in my office, I do it. Sometimes I sit on the floor and I do it. But it also, what it does, I realize what it does, if you really, you don't even need coffee or tea. I don't even drink coffee or tea anymore because it gives you so much power. I mean, you're never tired at all.
If you learn not necessarily to breathe, we say it says, I made man in the image of myself. I repeat this many times, but not many times many people understand what I'm talking about. He says, I made man in the image of myself. If the man needs or the man can think, so does the soul. The man has to learn to understand this thinking and not this thinking. If the man becomes a passenger of space, because there's so many ways is this which will manifest itself in the depth of the space. And if it does, it must think that it can exist. The problem and part of the teaching has been, and it's been one of the biggest dilemmas for me for weeks now, how can I explain, maybe this is the best opportunity to do, how can we get the man to understand the thinking of his soul and not the thinking of his physicality? And at the same time distinguish, is it the soul thinking or is it the thinking of the man? Because this soul, as you are, is already thinking and communicating with other souls, what your physicality is thinking and communicating with physical life. Then it comes, does, by, as you say, breathing, do we, by different understanding of the use of the physical dimension, can we access this line of thinking? Because when you access this line of thinking, you become the light. You work this side of the thinking, you stay the physical man. We fall in love in the dimension of the physicality. If the physicality can fall in love, and I made you the image of myself, so does the soul of the man falls in love. When you fall in love with the soul, and your soul takes over the dimension of the light, you see who lied to you in the dimension of physicality. And this is where I live. But my silence is my virtue. And if you do understand this, then it comes to the point. Does the soul of the man is what we hear? Or is the physicality of the man which we hear? Or do we become so transparent to our physicality that we know the difference between the two calls? And when we get this balance, it's what is in Quran, the day of judgment. Because that's what happens to you on the day when the two have to say goodbye. Balance book. This is what a lot of knowledge seekers have got to go through the transition. And with this new enhancement system coming in, you will face it. You have no choice, unfortunately. Then, do I think in the level of my soul, or do I think in the level of my physicality? Because I made man in the image of myself. If man can think, so is one of my own attributes in the dimension of the soul. And then, if I think in the level of the soul, which has no physical dimension, isn't it supposed to be the dimension of the creator? Then it brings a lot of understanding to a lot of us. Do we need to breathe to be able to, or do we need to go to sleep to open this boundary softly? The man has to understand this. Now that you're becoming aware of the soul, are you thinking in the dimension of the man about the thinking of the dimension of the soul? Or are you thinking dimension of the solar strength that affects the dimension of physicality? Then if you achieve that point, you can convert yourself to anything in the dimension of the universe. Anything. Then you become that Gans. You remember, we get a Gans and we get gold, silver, or whatever. So now this Gans is the soul of the man. In what dimension and strength do you want to manifest yourself? Or is it the one you love, loves diamonds, and you can create it in the dimension of the diamond to see the beauty by the soul of it, that understands, appreciates non-existence of physicality in the dimension of physical observation, but seeing it as it exists. I call this one the magic of the soul. I can give you whatever is your imagination in the dimension of your physicality that elevates your soul to understand the power of my soul and what I can give you as a piece of satisfaction. Because your soul is important. I love that soul. I respect that soul. Does not matter what physicality stands for. When I stand and I say, I'd like to see a shooting star, I do that for the love I have for the soul. And with that, satisfy to the eye of the man, to the dimension of physicality. It comes from my love for the love of that soul and nothing else. Because dimension of satisfaction, dimension of physicality is to satisfy the soul. Then you can see as many shooting stars as you like. In so many ways, a shooting star is a confirmation of the light of the Creator. That's what the soul sees. That's what the Christ saw, and that's what Moses saw, and that's what Muhammad saw. And if you understand this, you understand the totality of the love of the Creator. Life of man is a shooting star in the world and horizon of this life of the Creator in the dimension of existence. But you have to ask, who does he pleases, that shooting star? Then you got to think from now on gradually. Knowledge seekers and those who become the seeker of knowledge. Am I thinking in the strength of the soul, or am I thinking in the strength of the physicality as a made man in the image of myself? And then it comes to the fact, does this has a separate lover than this in the dimension of physicality? But the beauty of it is, can this lover be changed in the dimension of physicality, where this will be a hard job, because you have to take the physicality to give it the soul. Today's teaching has brought many, many things on the table, but this is part of the man to be able to enter universal community. When you come to the dimension of the soul and you travel the span of the universe, you're a soul. How do you know what is here and what is there and what is this? If the soul could not think, understand. Or do we put the dimension of the understanding of the physicality within it? Then does this think for the soul? try to understand, then you understand the totality of the creation. But it's taken the creatures of the universe billions and billions of years, and not many have understood. Any other question?
Yes, Mr. Keshe, I have one question, please. Jalal here.
Yep. Yes.
You mentioned the name in Iranian, that is Difa, a protection. And that mean you said Sapa. Is it Sapa? Then
Sapa means army. P in the Middle Eastern language is exclusivity of Persian language. In Arabic, we don't have P.
Can you
Anything in yeah.
Can you write it? Can you write it, Mr. Keshe, here
It's
in the board?
written like this. What you call P. And Sapa means collection of people in so many ways that safeguard the nation and the king or the leaders. And it was a forgotten name in so many ways till the regime of the last Shah, when he brought back in the Sepah Jawidah, which was 2,500 soldiers sworn to protect the monarchy and the nation. And when the Palestinians raided Iran, this team was the first lot they killed. Carlos, one of my dearest friends in the school.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe.
Thank
Jalal, the way you spell it is S-E-P-A, Sepa.
That's how you spell. But this means army of people. It's an old ancient military name for military army. Army is a new word. In Iran, we have two. One's called Artesh, which is the present national army. Sepah is protection of the nation. And they protect the Iranian nation with their lives, as we've seen. But these are part of the culture of Iran. We trust them with our lives because they're there to protect us. Does not matter who puts name and how they get used, but that's what the true meaning of it is. In the English language, in the Persian language.
Yeah, Mr. Keshe, in Arabic, when you hear that, it's like Sabah, that means morning.
No, it's Sepah.
Yeah.
Which actually means army. But you saw this Sepah Jawidah if you watch the inauguration of 2,500 years of monarchy in Iran during the last regime. They made these in this wearing special clothes when the leaders of the world came for the celebration of 2,500 years of Iranian monarchy.
Mr. Keshe, actually, after the revolution, they gave the Sepoy Pastanan a lot of strength, and is as big as the army after the revolution.
They became in the culture of Iran, they are protectors of the nation. Now they try to call them their terrorists and everything. They give their lives to protect the borders of Iran. They don't belong to no group. They don't belong to no government. They're loyal to the nation. but different organizations and different leaders try to make it to be part. It's part of the Iranian culture, as you have ninjas and you have others in other nations and nationalities and culture. It's about to be part of the Iranian culture. So to keep this nation in one piece. Any other question? Thank you very much for today. I do apologize to our colleagues and friends who go to Mexico. I could not be there. I'm there with my soul. I'll be present as much as possible on the teaching of the Zoom. On the other hand, the head of the Keshe Foundation and other members of the Keshe Foundation who actually on the backbone of the foundation there. In a way, it's a pre-run time to come. Maybe that was a good start. And please understand, when you are in these meetings, you are in the same and the soul of the foundation, not the individuals to, as we say, play games. The knowledge, the sincerity of the peace, and the spreading of knowledge and technology for the governments to stand is sacrosanct. Thank you very much. Hopefully we'll see you next week and we'll see what we can do. But today I opened a small gap into your knowledge in respect to the life of the man in the universe, if you understood it. Thank you very much.
Thank you once again, Mr. Keshe. Thank you. And thanks to everybody for attending today's workshop. Those who still have questions outstanding, carry them over till next week and we'll deal with them then. And we have the One Nation, One Planet, One Race for World Peace coming up on Tuesday at it's what, 8 a.m. Central European time, is that correct? Or is it 4? No, it's 8, I believe, on that one. And we have private teachings as usual in the KFSSI, and the small groups are forming and continue to be operating in the private teachings as well.
And testimonial.
Testimonials will be in another week and a half or something, yes.
February 10th.
February 10th, right? Second Monday of the month.
Can I ask a question, please?
Mm-hmm.
Something, sorry, apologies. As I hear you're trying to explain the different meetings, we need something very important which Rick just was mentioning. Now that we are dealing with governments in a vast way, we need the testimonials to be categorized in a way that we can print per disease, per case of trees, animals, and everything else. Especially in golden age of GANs and the other places that people are putting these testimonials, to bring a rapid shortcut to what we call clinical trials. We need all the people who have done trials to bring all these testimonials under one bracket. If I need to show cancer, 10 of them, 20 of them, 100 of them, I just go to the cancer, take the file, and I can give it to the doctor. Now that we start negotiating with governments, these testimonials are becoming very, very important. Extremely important. We're realizing the importance of these testimonials you're putting up. We need someone somewhere, or set up a group or people who can categorize testimonials. That now we are doing research, what we call it, clinical trials in China. They want to see all the trials we've done, and we present these as Keshe Foundation trials around the world. When they see different countries, it gives a lot of strength to us. I don't know if somebody or a group can be set up to bring all the testimonials in category and effectiveness, or did not work, or whatever. Especially agriculture and the medical. We need them urgently, because now, even for example, in Brazil, we're going to go through the what you call certification. These trials done by the doctors in Brazil, in Mexico, in US, or anywhere around the world is needed. I know Chinese doctors have done a lot of work, but they're hiding it. It's time to open up and let us have the data you have worked on. It speeds up our work with your universities now that we are inside and we do clinical trials. It's, if you could set up in China and outside, because China is a different structure of it, and gather anything under any trial. Anything is done. I've done a test with the skin and this what happened. We would like to have all these. It makes it easier for us than in certification by your nations, your governments, as we are traveling through to bring the technology into them. Thank you very much.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Keshe. Okay, are there any other messages that that we need to mention before we end our program for today? Okay, I guess that's it for now. Thank you, everyone, for attending today's 313th Knowledge Seekers Workshop for Thursday, January 30th, 2020. And I believe Flint is ready to end today's show. And thanks, everyone.
Hello. We are the Keshe Foundation. Our mission is to bring peace on earth and join humanity with the universal community. We wish and work to bring man as equal to all beings in the universe. By teaching plasma science and technology equally to everyone, no one is left out and no one is abused due to lack of knowledge. By donating to us, you can help achieve this goal. keshefoundation.org/donate.
Good morning, good afternoon to you, whenever and wherever you listen to this recording. My name is Keshe, the head of Keshe Foundation, and as a Iranian nuclear physicist, we have developed technologies for space which can be applied and has been applied in China in past few years to see how we can improve the life of people in China, be it in the agriculture, be it for health, be it for production of material. In the past 2 years, when I stayed in China, we tried to show that this new technology can help with viruses. As you know, the African pig swan flu has killed many, many pigs. In the trial, which we were asked to participate in, where 829 pigs were affected by the virus, tested and confirmed, When we entered the process to help, after 2 weeks, we saved 725 pigs carrying the virus. This is one of the most difficult viruses to handle. At the same time, we have participated in agricultural growth in Inner Mongolia and northern part of China, and we have increased the harvest drastically. We have now factories in China, and in that process, we are trying to change and help the Chinese nation and technology and the industry and farming. Today is the Chinese New Year, and we know that a new problem has started for China. The new flu has already claimed many lives, and we know the flu is a virus. Up to today, in the world of science, there has never been a solution for viruses because we never understood what the virus is. Now, with the new technology, we understand what the virus is. And as the new technology depends on plasma technology, we can reduce the effect of the virus energy. What virus does that we understand now is an energy pack which itself attaches to a cell, and it takes the energy from the cell and in that case creates death of the cell and the death of the animal or a human being. With this new technology, what we do, we bring the plasma, which is more or less in this shape you see at the bottom of the cup, near to the cell. And then the virus gives its energy to this material and lets the cell go. And then we see eradication of it. We developed this technology because we are a space program. And in a space, we don't have microbes and bacteria. We have viruses, energy packs, which attach ourselves to themselves. And then it creates a huge problem. And it can cause a lot of death in space. So we had to develop a technology for viruses. And now, in this time, when China is in trouble with this new virus for humans, and many have died, we introduced this not only to help you, but to help the nation, and in a way to change the course. What I'm going to show you is going to cost you 1 RMB to save your life. We call this the cup of life. 1 cup, 1 life. You can make it at home. Drink only the water, the clear water. Never drink the material. Wash your face with it, wear the mask with it, and then you will see, even if you have a fever, the fever comes down, and then you see the other effects. Then, if we can eradicate all the problem, at least the doctors can help you with the rest of it. This water has been certified, just passed the test that is not poisoning, and is already used in a hospital in Guangzhou for another application by a pharmaceutical company. Belongs to the Keshe Foundation. This is the newest space technology. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you how to make 1 cup, 1 life. It's very simple. Look around your house. See what materials you have in the house, something you don't need anymore. Take the wire, cut the wire off, and take the middle wires out. Usually you have 3 wires in China. Take these out, and then strip the plastic and cut it to about 30 centimeters. You can cut as many as these you like. What you do, you take the copper, take a pencil, and just simply twist. Twist the copper around the pen. That you get a spine. Very simple. Now you have a very small piece. You can make as many of these and put them together or connect them together. This is the first part. The second part of this is you take another one of these wires and you twist it very tight, very, very tight. And then this is the trick of the game. This is where you become more advanced than the scientists in Beijing universities and most of the universities around the world. We call it the nanotechnology. I'll show you how to make a very fast nanomaterial. This is a key to your life. This is what saves lives. This is what changes life. In the house, you usually have the Chinese pans. You create fire to cook. Here, I have a torch. The system, very simple. I need this. What I do, I reduce it. We need a high temperature. The copper has to go red. If it doesn't go red, it doesn't work. You put the copper on the fire and you wait for it to go red. As it goes red, you start moving. You start moving very, very slowly till you see it going red, and then you start moving. You see it? If you look, the copper stays continuously red, and then you carry on very, very slowly, very, very slow. You keep the copper in a red color. It has to stay red. And then, you see it? You come all the way, very slowly, very, very slow. You come to the end of it. Some of the wire might bend, it doesn't matter. But you go to the end. Make sure everything has to be black. You can't have any metal. Just watch. You see it? It goes red. The other part is going to the left. You go red. Let it cool for a few seconds. And then, when it cools down, you do exactly as what you did before. You take it, still hot, and what you do, you place it back again, the same as on the pen, and you twist it around the pen. You'll find out you find some pieces already opened up. It doesn't matter. This is good. And then you follow it till it's totally finished. And then you push it back and bring all the wires together that they stick. There is nothing staying out. Now you have another spring. Look. Okay. Now you have one which is natural, one which is nano-coated. This is the edge of technology. Now you need something else. In all the homes we find batteries. The batteries which they carry zinc or zinc material. If it's a metal one, is no good. You can put a magnet on it and it sticks. You need a piece of zinc, or you can find a piece of zinc from the roof or from anywhere if you cannot find a battery, but it's usually in the batteries. You get it and you just fold it. Now what we do, we get a cup. That's what we call it, one cup, one life. You hang this one on one side. You hang the other one on the other side. And then I recommend you to get a hard piece of wire and turn it to this shape and hold it, put it on the top. Now you have made yourself a very simple system. You need to hang this on the middle. There we are. When you hang it like this, now you place it in the middle. As simple as that. Now we move to the final stage. As you know, we need to connect the three pieces together. You need to connect the plate to itself. This is from your battery, or you have it a zinc from somewhere. Then you connect the middle part again on the leg, very simply, to another piece. Then what you need to do, just make sure it's tight, very tight. And then you place it back in the cup. Then the third wire. What you do with the third wire is very simple. You connect it again to the bottom, to the end of this wire. Then just twist it that it stays tight, bring it back and hang it inside. Very simple. Now you have, I show you, 3 wires and 3 pieces. What you need to do is very simple. You can do one thing. You can, to speed up, to make the material very fast, take an old battery, very old battery, not much power in it, and connect the 2 outside together, and get a tape, a simple tape, and connect this to the top of the battery. That's all you need to do. Just make sure you have the tape and you have this, and you connect it directly to the top. Make sure it's tight. You get another piece of tape and you connect the bottom to the center. Of the battery. So now we have a system. You have the 2 wires. You have to make sure none of these touches. But this process, a cup of life of man, 1 cup, 1 knife, needs water. This water, you take a tap water and you add salt to it, cooking salt. You add about 15% for 1 liter, 150 grams is good, and you stir it till it's fully done. Then, now you start saving your life. Just fill it up. You don't need to do anything else. Just fill it up to the top. Leave it. You'll start seeing bubbles. Make sure everything is inside. And if you look, already bubbles start coming up. What are you going to get? A water like this. You see whitish greenish material goes to the bottom and you get a very clear water. You never drink or touch the green part. You just let everything to settle. When it's clean and clear, you drink about 100 ml, 200 milliliter of it. And then you wash your face and you wash your hands with it. And then most of you at the moment, to the fear of what is going to happen, you are wearing these masks which you put in front of your face, or a tea towel, or any towel or a piece of cloth. You wet it with the same water and you hold it and you put it in front of your mouth. You breathe as much as possible every day. You just wear the mask. And then you have to make sure that when you make the fresh water will be salty. Try to wash the salt off. You wash it, you let it settle, you put more water in it, you let it settle, and in that process, you go as much as you like. When you empty it, when you took this material out of the bottom, you can put more salt water and keep it going. It keeps on producing. You can give another cup to another friend. You can save another life to your neighbors and keep on producing and teach them what to do. And then what you do, you keep on filling it up. You drink from it, you let it settle. You keep on drinking, washing your cloth, washing your nose, washing your face, your head, and keeping the mask continuously wet in front of your mouth. So what you can do on the other hand is, as you're walking around the town, just carry it, put the water in a spray, and just spray it on the cloth on your mask. That's all it does. You see anybody says, I have a temperature, give it to them. That's all it does. It saves a life with just one spray. This is a space technology. It looks very simple because we made it simple. You got to understand, this technology is very advanced on the other hand, where very soon you will see these machines where we'll do the same in more effective way, made in China, will be exported around the world. I brought this technology, one cup, one life, because every life has to be respected. And I love to be part of the Chinese community to see that the new year becomes a pleasurable year. This is my gift, the gift from Keshe Foundation to the Chinese nation. Use it, understand what you're doing, and give a cup to the man. Teach the man how to make it. Once you learn this one, if another 5 years, another 10 years, there is another virus, that's all you need to do. Just make a very simple system. One cup, one life, less than 1 RMB. It's worth testing. And then teach it freely. We have opened a website that in this program, you see it at the bottom. You have a problem, get in touch with Keshe Plasma China at 163.com. You can be helped there. And then we can teach you how to do it and teach the others. It doesn't take long. If you leave it for about half a day or so, you will start seeing the material appears. And that's all you need to do. Thank you very much. A Happy New Year. I hope you enjoyed the gift of life, which I've given you as one cup, one life. Thank you.